95th minute, London Stadium, West Ham versus Arsenal. The referee points to the centre circle. Callum Wilson has just turned the ball into the net. The home crowd is on its feet. West Ham players are celebrating, and in that exact moment, 3 points that could decide the entire Premier League title race appear to be gone. Arsenal had been so close, 1-0 up. Trossard's goal had given them everything they needed, and now, in the final seconds of injury time, it looked like it had been taken away. But then the VAR check begins. Every Arsenal supporter watching at home, watching in the stadium, watching on their phone stops breathing because they know what is at stake here. This is not just 3 points in a regular match. This is potentially the difference between Arsenal winning the Premier League title for the first time in 22 years or watching that dream collapse in the final week of the season. 22 years of waiting, 22 years of near misses, 22 years of watching other clubs lift that trophy, and it is all sitting in the hands of a VAR official staring at a monitor somewhere outside the stadium. The check takes time. It always takes time, and every second feels longer than the last. Then the signal comes. Goal disallowed. Foul on the goalkeeper. The reaction is immediate, and it is split directly down the middle. West Ham are furious. Arsenal cannot believe what they just survived. And the football world immediately divides into two camps, those who say the decision was correct and those who say Arsenal have been gifted 3 points they did not deserve. But here is where the facts matter, and the facts in this situation are not ambiguous. The Premier League's own chief refereeing officer, Webb, stepped in front of cameras and spoke publicly. He did not hedge, he did not offer careful diplomatic language, he was direct. He said, "Is it a foul on the goalkeeper?" Categorically, yes. Categorically, that is not the language of a man defending a controversial call. That is the language of a man who looked at the evidence and found it clear. And Webb explained exactly what the officials saw: an opponent grabbing or holding David Raya's arms, interfering with the goalkeeper's ability to do his job, preventing him from defending his goal. Webb confirmed that this specific type of contact, not just any contact, but contact that stops the goalkeeper functioning, had been communicated to every club in pre-season briefings before a single ball had been kicked this season. The rule was known. The incident was visible on video. It happened early in the move. And when VAR identified it clearly on screen, they had no choice but to intervene. 3 points confirmed. Arsenal survive. And the title race, in the space of one VAR check in the 95th minute, shifts completely back in Arsenal's favour. That moment, that exact moment, may turn out to be the moment this Arsenal side finally ended 22 years of waiting. And everything that follows in today's video connects directly back to it. Stay with me, because there is a lot more to break down. The goal that was not, Webb and the VAR decision. Let us start with the moment that had the entire football world talking on Sunday. Arsenal went to West Ham United and ground out a 1-0 victory. Leandro Trossard scored the only goal of the game. But the real drama came in the 95th minute when West Ham thought they had earned a point. Callum Wilson converted what appeared to be a late equaliser. The London Stadium erupted. Arsenal fans held their breath. And then VAR intervened. The goal was disallowed. The reason given was a foul on Arsenal goalkeeper David Raya. Now, the Premier League's chief refereeing officer, Webb, spoke publicly about this decision. He appeared on television alongside pundit Michael Owen to explain exactly what happened. Webb was direct. He said, and these are the words he used, "Is it a foul on the goalkeeper?" Categorically, yes. Webb went further. He explained that throughout the season, including during pre-season briefings with the players themselves, referees had made it clear that if a goalkeeper is impeded by an opponent grabbing or holding their arms, they will be penalised. The rule is not about any physical contact. It is about a very specific type of contact, one where the goalkeeper's arms or hands are being interfered with in a way that stops them doing their job. Webb then described the video evidence. He said it was clear and it was obvious, and that it happens early in the move. He acknowledged that the referee on the pitch could not see it clearly because of the volume of players crowded inside the penalty area. But he made the point that when VAR sees something clear and obvious like this, they must get involved. Now, here is the analytical point that matters. This was not a soft decision. This was not a controversial call based on opinion. According to the chief refereeing officer himself, this was a clear and obvious foul, visible on video, meeting the exact criteria that had been communicated to clubs before the season even started. The decision was correct. The process worked as it was designed to work. Arsenal did not escape anything. They were protected by a rule that exists to protect goalkeepers. The consequence of that decision is enormous. Arsenal took 3 points from West Ham, And in the context of a title race this tight, those 3 points may prove to be the difference between winning the league and watching it slip away again. The title race, what has to happen? Now, the situation in the Premier League title race is now absolutely clear. If Manchester City drop points in either of their remaining 2 games and Arsenal beat an already relegated Burnley at home, Arsenal will be crowned Premier League champions for the first time in 22 years. 22 years, let that land for a moment. Crystal Palace manager Oliver Glasner was asked about this situation. His response was both honest and quietly brilliant. He acknowledged that if City win all 3 of their remaining games, they have a chance. But he added that if Arsenal win both of their remaining games, they are champions. Glasner was then asked about Crystal Palace's potential influence on the title race, given that Palace face both Arsenal and Manchester City before the season ends. His answer drew attention across football. He said, and I am quoting him directly, "Our influence in the title race is definitely less than they are." That is a pointed comment. And it tells you everything about the mood around this season. Glasner is not making promises. He is being realistic. He is also, in his own way, acknowledging that external forces like refereeing decisions and VAR calls have had more impact on this title race than his Crystal Palace side. The analytical reality here is straightforward. Arsenal are in control. They do not need to rely on anyone else making mistakes if they win their own game. The pressure is now firmly on Manchester City, and the evidence from the last 24 hours suggests Arsenal have the mental strength and the collective quality to close this out. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this every single day, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. Melissa, Arsenal analyst, gives you the full picture, not just the headlines, the Odegaard moment, why intelligence wins titles. Let us now talk about the goal itself and the man who made it possible. Martin Odegaard came off the bench against West Ham and changed the game. That is not an opinion. That is the assessment of Michael Owen, who spoke about it on Premier League Productions after the match. Owen broke down the assist in precise detail. He explained that the weight and pace of Odegaard's pass to Trossard was not accidental. It was a deliberate communication. Owen said the ball was rolled in at just the right pace to tell Trossard, without words, to hit it first time. If Odegaard had played the pass harder, it would have been a signal to Trossard that there was danger around him and he needed to take a touch to move away from trouble. But Odegaard read the situation perfectly. He knew Trossard had space and time, and the pace of the pass communicated exactly that. Owen described it as a very intelligent moment. He also said it was the kind of pass that becomes impossible for the goalkeeper to deal with, particularly when the shot takes a deflection, because the keeper has no time to adjust. The analytical point here is this. Goals in a title race are not always about pace or power or individual brilliance. Sometimes the most decisive moments are about understanding, about reading the game 2 steps ahead. Odegaard's assist was not a flashy moment. It was a quiet, precise, intelligent action that changed the outcome of a game that could define the entire Premier League season. Owen was asked directly whether Odegaard's introduction changed the game. He said yes, clearly and without hesitation. He added that Arsenal were probing without reward before Odegaard came on, creating chances but wondering whether the goal would ever come. And then it did, because of one perfectly weighted ball. That is what elite midfielders do. And right now, Odegaard is doing it when it matters most. The injury crisis, Ben White, is out now. We move to the hardest part of today's update. Arsenal have confirmed officially that Ben White sustained a significant medial knee ligament injury during the West Ham match. Specialist assessments have confirmed the damage. He will not play again this season. The club's medical team are now managing his recovery and rehabilitation programme. The focus, according to the official statement, is on having him ready for the start of pre-season preparations. Let us be clear about what this means analytically. Ben White is out. He will not feature in any of Arsenal's remaining Premier League games. He will not be available for the Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain on May 30th in Budapest. This is a significant loss. The timing is brutal. Arsenal are at the most critical point of their season. They are chasing a first league title in 22 years. They are preparing for a Champions League final, and one of their key defenders has been ruled out of both. This immediately raises a question about who starts at right back. And the answer to that question connects directly to the next section of this analysis. Mosquera emerging as the Champions League final right-back. It is now emerging that young defender Christian Mosquera is the front-runner to start at right-back for Arsenal in the Champions League final in Budapest. Reports suggest that his composure, his defensive reliability and his adaptability have impressed the coaching staff significantly. Arsenal are described as increasingly confident in his ability to handle one of the biggest games in European football. Think about what this represents. A young defender being trusted with a starting role in a Champions League final by Mikel Arteta. That is a huge vote of confidence. That is a manager saying publicly through his team selection that he believes in this player's ability to perform on the grandest stage the club game has to offer. The analytical question is whether Mosquera can handle that pressure. And based on what is being communicated from inside the club, the answer from those who work with him every day appears to be yes. With Ben White now unavailable, this is not just a potential choice, it may well be the only viable choice. Arteta will prepare Mosquera as carefully as possible in the days leading up to May 30th. Wayne Rooney praises Viktor Gyokeres. Speaking on Sky Bet's The Overlap EFL fan debate, Wayne Rooney gave a detailed explanation of what Viktor Gyokeres brings to the Arsenal team. Rooney was honest in saying he had been criticised earlier in the season for praising the striker, but he maintained his position. Rooney said Gyokeres occupies defenders, he makes them work, he makes them defend, he runs the channels, and what that movement does, according to Rooney's analysis, is create space for Eberechi Eze and for Bukayo Saka. When one or both centre-backs are forced to track Gyokeres, the full-back has to cover a cross. And when Arsenal switch the ball quickly in behind, that space becomes available for the wide attackers to exploit. This is a tactical observation worth paying attention to. Gyokeres is not just a striker who scores goals, he is a striker who reshapes the defensive structure of the opposition. His movement creates the architecture for everything Arsenal do in the final third. Rooney's endorsement here matters because it reflects what neutral observers with tactical knowledge are seeing from the outside. Gyokeres is making Arsenal harder to defend against. And that is exactly the kind of impact a striker needs to have in a side challenging for a double. Paul Scholes, Gabriel Magalhaes and the Player of the Year debate. Paul Scholes was asked to name the best player in the Premier League this season. His answer was Gabriel Magalhaes, the Arsenal centre-back. Scholes said, and I am reading his exact words here, I would probably go with Gabriel Magalhaes. I think he has been Arsenal's best player. He acknowledged that many people would argue for Declan Rice, calling Rice a brilliant player. But Scholes said he does not believe Rice has done enough to win the overall Player of the Year award. He then added that he personally thinks Bruno Fernandes has been the best player in the league, but he understood the argument for naming someone from the league leaders at Arsenal. The analytical point here is significant when a player of Scholes' standing, a man who played at the very highest level and has spent years analysing the game, singles out a defender as the best player at the top club in the country. That tells you something about the level of performance Gabriel has produced this season. Gabriel Magalhaes has been a defensive pillar for Arsenal. His performances at the back have directly contributed to Arsenal's ability to compete on two fronts. And with the Champions League final coming, his importance only grows. The Champions League final analysis. How can Arsenal beat PSG? This is a section of the video that I want you to stay focused on because everything here connects. Paul Scholes gave his honest assessment of Arsenal's chances against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League final. He said there is only one way Arsenal can beat them. Score early and defend deep. He said directly that Arsenal cannot go toe-to-toe with PSG the way Bayern Munich tried to. He believes that if Arsenal score first and then protect that lead with everything they have, they are capable of winning. But he made clear he thinks that approach is the only realistic path. Wesley Sneijder offered a strikingly different view. He said it can be ugly. A 1-0 win for Arsenal is possible, he acknowledged. And he was clear that stopping PSG from scoring would be a huge achievement in itself. But his honest assessment was that keeping a clean sheet against this PSG attack would be very hard. He predicted the final could end 3-0 or 4-0 to PSG or 1-0 to Arsenal. He sees no middle ground. Jamie Carragher went further. He stated plainly that he thinks PSG will win the Champions League final. He called PSG the best team. He said when you watch PSG play and what they did last season, they are a level above everyone else in Europe. He predicted Arsenal will win the Premier League this season, but not the Champions League. However, and this is the critical point Carragher himself made, he was careful not to write Arsenal off entirely. He said Arsenal are a different type of team, a contrast in styles. He acknowledged this is a one-off game, and in a one-off game, Arsenal have every chance. The analytical picture here is layered. Three respected voices, Scholes, Sneijder and Carragher, all see PSG as the likely winners. None of them are dismissing Arsenal completely. Scholes believes the route to an Arsenal victory exists. Sneijder sees two possible outcomes. Carragher acknowledges the unpredictability of a final. The reality for Arsenal is that they are going into this game as underdogs, but they are underdogs with one of the best defensive records in the competition. Arsenal have conceded just 6 goals in the Champions League this season. PSG have conceded 22. That gap is not a coincidence. It reflects the defensive discipline and organisation that Arteta has built at this club. If Arsenal can stay compact, limit PSG's opportunities and take their chance when it comes, the final is absolutely within reach. The evidence from this season suggests they have the defensive structure to at least make life difficult for PSG's attack. PSG injury update ahead of the final. It is worth paying attention to PSG's own injury situation going into the final. Achraf Hakimi has returned to individual outdoor training. He suffered a hamstring issue against Bayern Munich, but he appears to be making progress. Whether he will be available for the final on May 30th remains unclear, but his return to outdoor work is a positive sign for PSG. However, PSG also confirmed that Kang In Lee has picked up an ankle injury. William Pacho, Nuno Mendes and Warren Zaïre-Emery all continue rehabilitation. Well, the analytical implication here is that PSG are carrying their own injury concerns heading into the final. If key players like Nuno Mendes and Zaïre-Emery are not fully fit, that could affect PSG's ability to impose their normal style of play. Arsenal's coaching staff will be monitoring these developments very closely. Robert Pires on Max Daumann. Robert Pires, the former Arsenal and France winger, offered a warm and thoughtful assessment of young Arsenal talent, Max Daumann. Pires compared Arteta's management of Daumann to a father protecting his son. He said Arteta knows Daumann is very good. He knows Daumann has great qualities. And Pires believes that by the end of the season, Daumann can help the team in certain games. He described the future for Max Daumann as very good. The analytical observation here is that Arteta is managing Daumann's development with care and patience. He is not rushing him. He is not exposing him before he is ready. That kind of approach, protecting a talented young player from too much too soon, is the mark of a manager who thinks long-term. The fact that Pires is speaking about Daumann in these terms suggests the young player's potential is genuinely rated at the highest level inside the club. Transfer targets. Summer planning has already begun. Despite everything happening on the pitch right now, Arsenal are already thinking about next summer. Several targets have emerged, and it is important that I separate what is confirmed from what is rumour. First, Matthias Sol. It is being reported that Arsenal are monitoring the Argentine winger currently at AS Roma. The report suggests he could be available for around €14 million. Premier League interest in Suli is described as continuing to build. Arsenal are said to be working to improve the quality of their wing options. This is a rumour. Nothing has been agreed, no bid has been made, but the monitoring is described as genuine. Second, Arda Güler. It is being reported that Arsenal are considering a major move for Real Madrid's young Turkish talent Arda Güler. The potential bid mentioned is around €90 million. Arteta is believed to view Güler as a key long-term addition to the attack. This is a rumour sourced from El Nacional and should be treated as such. No formal approach has been made. No bid has been submitted. This is speculation, even if it is speculation grounded in real admiration from the club. Third, Lamine Camara. It is being reported that Arsenal have been tracking Monaco midfielder Lamine Camara closely for some time. The 22-year-old from Senegal is under contract at Monaco until 2029. Monaco value him at around €45 million, which is approximately £39 million. A significant number of other Premier League clubs are also monitoring him, including Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Brighton, Brentford and West Ham. This is a rumour. The interest is described as genuine, but no deal is close. The analytical point across all three of these situations is that Arsenal's transfer planning is clearly focused on improving the attack. A winger, a creative attacking midfielder and an energetic box-to-box option are all being looked at. That tells you Arteta has a clear vision for what he wants to add to this squad going into next season. The complete picture, what today tells us about Arsenal. Let me now bring everything together because taken individually, each of these stories is significant. But taken together, they tell a complete story about where Arsenal are right now. On the pitch, Arsenal are 22 years from their last league title and 18 days from a Champions League final. They beat West Ham 1-0 through a moment of pure intelligence from Odegaard. VAR protected them from a last-minute equaliser that the evidence suggests should never have stood. They are in control of their own destiny in the title race. They need to win their remaining games and let the pressure do its work on Manchester City. Off the pitch, they have lost Ben White to a serious knee injury. That is a painful blow, but the response from the club has been immediate and measured. Mosquera is stepping forward as the right-back option for the Champions League final. That is a young player being trusted with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Around the squad, Gyokeres is making Arsenal harder to defend against. Gabriel Magalhaes is being recognised by peers and pundits alike as one of the best players in the country this season. Martin Odegaard is making decisive contributions at the most critical moments. In terms of the Champions League final itself, the analytical consensus from figures like Scholes, Sneijder and Carragher is that PSG are the favourites. But all three acknowledge that Arsenal have a genuine chance. The defensive record speaks for itself. 6 goals conceded in the whole competition. That number is the foundation of any realistic belief that Arsenal can win this final. And looking ahead to next summer, the transfer targets being linked to Arsenal show a club with clear ambition. Goulet and Kamara are all players who would improve the squad in different ways. Whether any of these moves happen remains to be seen, but the direction of travel is clear. Closing. What to watch for here is what I want you to watch for in the coming days. First, watch Manchester City's results. If they drop points, the title celebration could happen very soon. Second, watch for any further updates on Ben White's recovery timeline and confirmation of who starts at right back in Budapest. Third, watch for PSG injury news, particularly around Hakimi, Mendes and Zaire Emery. The fitness of those players could have a direct impact on how Arteta sets up Arsenal for the final. Fourth, watch for any movement on the transfer targets. Summer is approaching fast and Arsenal will want clarity on their recruitment plans as early as possible. And this is an extraordinary moment for Arsenal Football Club. Everything is happening at once. The league, the Champions League, injuries, transfers. And through all of it, the club continues to move forward with purpose and clarity. That is what I see when I look at this club right now. A team that is not finished, a team that is right in the middle of something historic. Thank you for watching. Melissa, Arsenal analyst. If this video gave you the full picture, please subscribe and share it with every Arsenal supporter you know. Leave a comment below telling me your prediction for the Champions League final. I want to know whether you believe Arsenal can do it. I will see you in the next video.